Now, on Sunday night, the rare Sunday night college football game, very, very rare, we see the number 23 USC Trojans against the 13th ranked LSU Tigers. So both teams lost their starting quarterbacks to the NFL draft. Caleb Williams won the Heisman a couple years ago, went number 1 to the Bears. Jaden Daniels won the Heisman last year, went number 2 to the Commanders. Now, seeing our experts split on this game, Chip, or Emery, I'll start with you on this one because you're going with the money line here. You're taking a stand with USC. Why?
I love Miller Moss. I love Jamil Muhammad. I love D'Anton Lynn. I love the playmakers and speed that we see at USC in the backfield. Marks comes over from Mississippi State. We already know about Branch. You know about the punt return skills he brings to the table as well. So they have a lot of talent, and we know the offense will score. With LSU, although I feel like LSU is a fly in the ointment team this year, based off the offensive line, 2 elite tackles that they have. And I think they'll run the ball and their tight end play will look a lot like what Brian Kelly used to do at Notre Dame, because you lose 2 outstanding first-round talents at wide receiver. You lose a Heisman Trophy winner at quarterback. That was a dual threat guy that gave you a chance to win every game. And now you toss in a lot of unknown. Garrett Nussmeier, I know he's getting that lofty hype that we just talked about with like 5 other quarterbacks, but I still have to see it from him. I know he did well in the bowl game, but considering all who opted out and what happened in that bowl game, listen, I am taking USC to go out there, set the tone, remind people, hey, we still have USC-type talent, and now we got a much better defense than we had last year. I like them to win this game outright.
Yeah, I like where your head's at here. The thing that I would spotlight is that while LSU changed its defensive coordinator, going out and get Blake Baker from Missouri, they did not have a lot of notable additions, particularly in the secondary, that makes me think that this Tigers defense is going to be notably less leaky. I mean, the way that teams were able to just move the ball through the air against this LSU secondary was so significant by the end of the year that you were just firing team totals all day and cashing tickets. And so I think of an elite mind like Lincoln Riley going in there and trying to figure out ways that they're going to get matchup advantages for Zach Branch, for Deuce Robinson, for the rest of these USC skill players. And Miller Moss really has a handle of what Lincoln Riley wants to do. A little bit of X factor here. What is one of the new rules, or I should say new adjustments? We've got that headset communication. And when I'm thinking about which coaches are going to be able to help their quarterbacks out the most, it's not always going to be, here's where you've got the guaranteed pass, but it can be, here's what you want to avoid. When you see this, watch out and do this. And I think that that's where Lincoln Riley, that he's been coaching it all through the spring, off season, and the fall. I think that he's going to help Miller Moss be the best version of himself. And we're going to see USC. Would not be surprised if they win, but at a key number like 4, I'll take the points.
So, Mike, LSU has not won a season opener since Joe Burrow was playing quarterback in their national championship season of 2019. Does that concern you? I know it's meaningless history. However, as we go into week 1 of 2024.
Yeah, it's completely meaningless history for me personally. I think this matchup is fascinating, right? Because I like LSU in this game. I don't love LSU for the full season, and I'm much higher on USC for the rest of the season. I think USC is going to compete in a lot of games in the Big Ten, but I think this matchup is one that's interesting. So when you look at what's being replaced on both sides, we have major question marks at quarterback. I think that Miller Moss at USC is probably going to step in and find the stride, maybe even quicker than Nussmeier, but I like the offensive line continuity for LSU. Return 4 starters on that offensive line, a 3-year starter at tight end, and I think they're going to be able to run the football here because I think that USC still has a ton of question marks on the defensive side of the ball. So while we've seen LSU as a high-flying team, I think they may not want to get into the track meet quite as much as they have in years past. And I think some of that will be because of the changes on the defensive side of the ball. I know that it is a big leap to say that this team is going to be great defensively. I'm not saying that at all, but I think in this kind of a matchup, we might finally see an LSU team that at least kind of resembles an SEC defense at times here. I think it's a big philosophy change at LSU here. I think it's going to lead to a lot of close games. Whether or not they can win those 1-score games, that remains to be seen. But I think in this spot with that offensive line, they will not have trouble moving the football. So for that reason, I will be on LSU here -4.
It's kind of crazy after the last few years watching these two offenses, how dynamic they've been, to talk about defense. So I'm going to take a stand here. This is a lean, but I'm going under 64.5. 63.5, 64.5, somewhere in that ballpark. Either one of them, fine with me. There are two new defensive coordinators that will make a difference right away. We've talked about those guys. D'Anton Lynn moving from UCLA to USC. By the way, I hate when coaches or players transfer or go from one school to their rival the next. A whole nother story. Anyways, while the offenses are good, both teams lost a lot of talent from what they had the previous couple seasons, including, as we talked about, Williams and Daniels. I talked about LSU not winning a season opener. You throw that out the window. Close game, a little bit lower scoring than the total. LSU 30, USC 27.